volume. Lesson 103. Anybody know what volume is? And where do we use volume? When do we use volume? Where is volume? Drew?
Like the amount of something, like the amount of water maybe? Or how much water takes up?
Yeah, we call that actually capacity. If it's a liquid thing, we call that capacity more than we call it volume.
Then how much like a solid takes up?
Yeah,
How much
but
space?
there you go. That's what we're talking about. How much space something takes up. And the unit we use to measure volume in is what we call cubic units. Okay, it is three-dimensional. It has length, width, and height, and I've got a little, for example, here. And it all depends on what you're talking about. For example, this little shape right here is 1 cubic centimeter, because it is a centimeter by a centimeter by a centimeter. And rather than write out the word cubic, I'm just going to put the little 3 up there. That means cubic centimeter. Okay, 1 cubic centimeter. Not very big. Okay, you could get, if you think about something that's an inch by an inch by an inch, it's a lot bigger than a cubic centimeter, but not huge. That's a cubic inch. If you look at the floor and you see the little square on the floor, I wish I had one. This one's a little bigger. This is pretty close. This is about the right height. If I would cut it right here, if I would stop it right about here, that would be about a cubic foot. If you took your rulers 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, that would be about a cubic foot. And if you really got crazy and you would think about a cubic mile, that would be a very, very large thing, especially going a mile straight up in the air. That's a long ways. We can think of a mile going that way and a mile going that way and a mile going that way. Now, as a little thought process thing here, here's what I want you to do. Usually, volume is kind of deceptive. Generally speaking, we don't usually think about very clearly what volume is. Let's say I've got this. This is a cubic something. It's bigger than a cubic inch. I don't know what it would be. It's a cube of something. But if I asked you how many, here's my question for you. Here's the guess of the day. How many cubic centimeters, here's my cubic centimeter. How many cubic centimeters big do you think this plastic thing is? I want you to write it on your paper and circle it 3 times so that I know that that's what your guess is. How many cubic centimeters do you think this plastic cube here is? Write that down on your paper. How many of these do you think will fit into this thing here? I'm mesmerized by it. Look. Oh, look. Look.
That's so cool.
How many do you think this is here? Write it down there and we'll talk just a little bit about it. Everybody got a guess?
Yeah.
Now, just throw me a couple guesses out there. Brianna, what did you say?
4.
How many?
4.
You think that only 4 of these things are going there? Or let me give you maybe I should have dropped a few in there. There's 4. Does that take up the whole thing? How many do you think there? Jill? 100.
Whoa.
Brooklyn?
124 to
124. Keith?
25.
125. Isabel?
36.
36. Molly? 28. Now, you got your guess there, so you can brag if you got this right here. Now, here's let's just take a look here. I can't do them all because they don't quite exactly fit, but here's the deal. This cube here, I can fit 5 of them this way,
Yes.
and I can fit 5 of them this way, and it is actually 5 tall. It is a cube. It is 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And what you have to see, if this shape, look, you can see through the bottom of it, how many, just on the lowest level there, if I can go 5, if I have 5 rows of 5, on the very bottom level, if I get all these in here, they don't fit exactly right because some of these cubes are a little bigger than others. How many cubes can I fit just on having 1 layer? How many cubes am I going to get in here? If this bottom layer is 5 by 5, how many cubes am I going to get if I stack it just 1 stack high? That layer of 5 by 5. Brianna? Exactly. So this first layer right here, I'll just dash it right here. I don't know why that does it. This first layer is going to be 25 of those cubic centimeters. And then how many layers tall when I put all those in there? It is going to be 5 layers tall because I can stack 5 of them on top of each other. I'm not going to spend my time doing it. So those of you that said, if I have 5 layers of 25, I have 25 times 5, 5 layers of 25. 125 centimeters cubed is actually right on the money. How many of you had 125? Some of you said 124, which was awful close. 124. How about this? I'll give you another chance at that. What if this, maybe I should go something a little squarer. Well, let's go with this book. Although it's hard to think of a book that way, isn't it? Yeah, let's go with, well, let's go with this thing. Which, by the way, I do have this. Hold on a second. This right here. Not bad. Might not be able to get this thing. Here we go. How many of those 1 centimeter cubes do you think you can stick in this thing? Give you a little reference point here. That was 125, and I got that thing on there. Oh, maybe that'll help you out. Oh, by the way, I'll give you also a little here. What was your thought on that? Lance? 1,125. Carol?
1,000.
1,000. Charlie?
500.
500.
Yeah, Charlie.
Now let me just clue you in on this one. This plastic container here, if I were to do this, which I can, I can fit, if I do this just right, there are 10, we won't squeeze in there. There are 10, right there is 10 cubic centimeters. You with me there? Just in the front row, just be in the front row. This front row here, 1, there are 10. And then there would also be 10 this way. So it is 10 by 10. So each layer has 100. Each layer is going to be 100 cubic centimeters. Guess how many layers of 100 I have? It's also 10 high. So for each layer, I'm going to have 100. So I have 10 100s. So if you were thinking there are 1,000 cubic centimeters here, you are right. Which is what this is. This little cube, if you come up and look at it, it's a 10 by 10 by 10 cube. It's a cubic, well, cubic what, decameter? Decameter, whatever it is. Now, so the question I have for you, when we did all of these, we have a formula. The formula for volume. To find the volume of any box, rectangular prism, rather than having to drop little squares in there, let's say this is 8 centimeters by 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters. Does anybody know what the formula for volume is? Rather than counting them out and dropping them in there one at a time, the formula for volume is, Kate?
Length times width times height.
There you go. It is length times width times height. In other words, you multiply the 3 dimensions together. Length, width, and height. And you will get the volume, just like I did for this thing. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. The cube thing was 10 times 10 times 10. If I had something else, if it was this box, does somebody have a ruler with them right here, real fast? That's handy, you could slap me real fast. If I wanted to know how many cubic centimeters this little box was, let's see, I've got this for my square here. I want to know how many of those, and I would measure it in centimeters. This box is 17 centimeters by 8 centimeters by, let's just say 9 centimeters tall. If you want to know how many of these cubic centimeters you could actually put in here, you'd have to do a lot of multiplication here. It would be what, 17 times 8 times 7 is 72. 72 times 17, so 50, 0, 72. There are 1,224, 1,224 of these little cubes I could fit in here. If I asked you how many cubic feet my classroom is, how many of these boxes, if it was a cubic foot, I'd have to cut this off, but if you look at the floor, it's got a tile. If that was, you could make a cube that is a foot by a foot by a foot. How many cubes do you think I could put in my room? That's a foot by a foot by a foot, kind of close to this. Again, think about what we just said, length times width times height. How many cubic feet do you think, would you estimate my classroom is? Who's got somewhat of a guess before I tell you the dimensions of my classroom? I think we already talked about the area of my floor. That tells you how many squares you get on the floor and how high it is. Somebody got a guess as to how many 1 foot cubes? Nobody's taking a guess. Not cubic centimeters, by the way. Don't think, I'm not looking for these. That would be an outrageous number. I am looking for a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot box. So one layer of boxes would come up to here. That's about a foot high. 2 feet. My room's about 9 feet tall, if you want to go to the ceiling there. Jenna says how many? What's your guess? How many? 125. Elijah's guessing
5,400.
5,400. Isabel? 3,000. Charlie?
512.
512. Well, let me tell you, my room is pretty much a square. It is 30 feet by 30 feet. That means in the first layer of cubes, it's going to be 30 times 30. There are 900 cubes would fill my room 1 foot tall. You lay 900. How tall is my room? It's about 9 feet. So I'm going to have 9 layers of 900. you could put about 8,000, a little over 8,000 of those 1-foot blocks in my room. So, please make sure